Good morning, gang. Happy Tuesday morning. All right, we are officially 1 week away. 1 week from today, the polls open and we elect our next president and next Congress. It brings up something that we've all seen in the news, and I'm not buying it for 1 second. I think it's a psyop big time. And it's all this euphoric optimism that you're seeing on social media by Trump supporters, and all this apparent panic by the mainstream media about Kamala Harris. Now, I'm not saying Trump isn't leading or anything like that. Not that. I'm talking more about voter suppression. And I have a tendency to think this is a psyop. I kind of look into this a little bit deeper, and I'm not buying what they're selling. Every year in elections, you hear, oh, the Democrats have a huge advantage when it comes to early voting because conservatives have a tendency to go to the polls on election day. And this year, you're hearing the opposite. And again, this is all this euphoric optimism I'm talking about, that people are rallying. Oh, look, in 2020, the Democrats had this many early votes, and in 2024, it's tightened up to this, or it's flipped, and there's more Republican votes coming in than there are Democrats. There's a couple of problems with this. There's people that are assuming way too much. The first part is those aren't counted ballots. It's not those are ballots that have come in for Trump or come in for Harris. You know, they're people that are either registered Republicans or registered Democrats. There are a lot of registered Republicans that are never Trumpers that'll probably vote for Kamala Harris or Jill Stein or somebody. There are a lot of registered Democrats that are going to vote for Donald Trump. So just because there's been more ballots that have come in from registered Republicans doesn't mean squat, okay? Then you get into the other part of that, and we saw it in the primaries. Remember the whole deal with Nikki Haley, where people were switching their party affiliation from Democrat to Republican so that they could vote for, in some of these primaries, because they were closed primaries, so they could vote for Nikki Haley. Well, let's say those people didn't switch their party affiliation back, okay? In their heart, they're liberal communists, but their voter registration says they're registered Republicans, and they vote for Kamala Harris. This doesn't mean anything, and people are hyping this up like crazy as to, oh, look, Trump's way ahead, we're doing great. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. Then could it be a psyop by the media? Well, gee, let's just print out a whole bunch of stories saying that Trump's ahead, that Republicans are winning, yada, yada, yada. So people go, nah, you know what? He's got my state. I don't need to vote. I mean, there's no question whatsoever that Trump's going to win Tennessee. I think he's up 26 points in the polls, okay? I'm sorry, that's too big to rig, all right? It doesn't mean that I'm not still going to, well, I already did, but it doesn't mean that people shouldn't go vote for him. Because the popular vote, even though it doesn't make any decision on whether or not somebody wins, the popular vote's important because it's a psychological thing that says, yeah, they won the Electoral College, but they also won more than 50% of the country. So you want to save democracy. Okay, he won the Constitutional Republic Electoral College, and he won the democracy vote by winning the popular vote as well. Okay, well, if the Democrats get people, if the liberal media get people to stay away from the polls, they could throw a monkey wrench in that. The other thing is, it's not only, and this is the hard part for me to understand. This is the political stupidity of a lot of the American public, is they don't have a clue who's down ballot to vote for. They don't know who their senators are. They don't know who their congressional representative is. Every representative is on the ballot, guys. Every single one of them, and 1/3 of the senators are on the ballot. They need votes too. So when they're trying to suppress the vote, saying, oh, Trump's so far ahead, you don't need to go vote, well, that also takes votes away from those congressional openings that are on the ballot as well. There's a problem. And the Democrats could be going, okay, we can maintain control of the Senate or something like this, or maybe flip the House if we can suppress the vote. There's that. Then you look at some of the nefarious activities that are going on. If you caught in the news yesterday, we had situations in Washington State and in Oregon yesterday where drop boxes, ballot drop boxes, were firebombed and destroyed hundreds or thousands of ballots. Now, are those people completely disenfranchised now? How many of them are going to realize that their ballot was in there and that their vote didn't get counted? And again, it's not like you just pull out another piece of paper and rewrite it. You need another ballot. So you get that problem. And we don't know, how many ballots in there were for Trump, for conservatives, were for Harris, were for Democrats. The one in Washington, at least, for example, was in a highly contested congressional district. Now, chances of Trump winning Washington State are between slim and none, but Congress could flip based on just a couple of seats. And so that winds up very painful. Then you look at out and out cheating. And you had a situation that came up in Pennsylvania over the weekend where the Secretary of State's office found thousands of ballots, or voter registrations at least, that were fraudulent. That the people got all these registrations that were turned in at the 11th hour, right before your deadline to register, and miraculously they'd find dozens of them in a row that all had the same handwriting for signatures, or the same handwriting for filling out the ballots, because people were just filling it out, and not to say that filling out the ballot that somebody didn't do it for them. Okay, would you like to register to vote? Sure. What's your name? Joe Smith, and I'm the one doing it. Okay. What's your name? Bob Jones. But the signatures all had the same handwriting. Okay, so those turned out to be fraudulent. We don't know. It looks like from the early reporting that this is one of these progressive groups that had come up with this. All right, so, fraudulent Democrat ballots. Okay, but it happens on both sides. Okay, like I said the other day, there's never been an election in history that's been perfectly clean. We just don't need to make it dirtier. Then in Colorado, you had this happen where the Colorado State Department found out about absentee ballots being intercepted in the mail. Now, I'm going to give you this. Going into somebody's mailbox, doesn't matter, put something in or take something out, is a federal felony. Okay. When you get some guy who paints houses and he makes flyers or whatever it is, and he puts it in your mailbox, he's actually committing a felony by doing that. Okay. The only thing that's supposed to go in a mailbox is U.S. Post Office mail. But you have people in Colorado who were going through, and they found at least a dozen cases of this so far, where people were going and stealing absentee ballots out of the mail and filling them out and submitting them. And Colorado is one of the few states where you can check your ballot online to make sure it was received and to make sure that it was recorded correctly. And people were looking online to say, where's my ballot? It's like, your ballot's already been submitted. And they're like, what? And then they look at it and go, I didn't submit my ballot, and that's not how I voted. And so now you get the issue again on the signature verification. So we're already seeing the fraud happening. And of course, we know which way it's primarily going, just like it went in 2020. It's crooked, and it's 99% of the time the cheating is going in favor of the Democrats. But this is what's going to happen come next Tuesday. Mark my words on this one. Any state that's close, which you can pretty much figure that's going to be all the 6 swing states. I'm sorry, North Carolina's not a swing state. I don't care what you say. North Carolina's pretty solid red, okay? Trump's up like 2.5% there. North Carolina's solid enough red that the Kamala Harris campaign stopped all advertising in North Carolina yesterday. They cut all the money to do any more advertising. So they're throwing in the towel in North Carolina. Okay. So yeah, the media trying to hype that up is no different than the conservatives trying to say that New York or Minnesota or Virginia are in play. They're not. Okay. Simply put, they'll still go blue. But so this is what's going to happen in swing states is they're going to be close. The Democrats are going to lose. And then we're going to see the lawsuits. For what? Voter suppression. Any of those states that required ID to vote? Well, these voters were disenfranchised because they didn't have ID. The Monday morning quarterback deal. They're going to find somebody that is one of these people that they don't care to vote. But, hey, I'm hoping Kamala Harris wins, but I'm too lazy to go to the polls myself to vote. They'll find somebody like that and parade them around social media and on CNN and everything like that. I couldn't vote. It was because I didn't have ID, and they wouldn't let me vote, and I would have voted for Kamala Harris, and they're going to try a lawsuit on something like that. Okay, again, all the crap of they want free and fair elections, yet Democrats won't certify the fact that we have to have ID to vote. They won't pass a law, even though it's written in the Constitution, that said only citizens can vote, et cetera, et cetera. You had another one yesterday where the Nevada Supreme Court said that ballots can be counted if they are received up to 4 days after Election Day, as long as the postmark's on time. I'm sorry, an election is not the IRS. Yeah, your taxes have to be postmarked by April 15th. It's not like on the evening of April 15th, the IRS is coming up and saying, and this is what we collected in tax revenue this year. No. Okay. But on the evening of November 5th, they should say, this is who is the next president, next congressman, next senator, yada, yada, yada. That should all be done. Sure. There are a few exceptions where it might be really close and they need to recount, and it might be done by 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. But none of this 4 days, 10 days, 2 weeks later crap. Okay. If Brazil, Argentina, hell, countries in Africa can count all the votes, where they have hardly the infrastructure we do. If they can count all the votes in one day, why the hell can't we? But this is what's going on. Do not, by any means, fall into the trap of being complacent. Another trick that's going on, and I saw this morning too. Michigan, okay, Oakland County, which is, I know Oakland County because I went to high school there, is a very blue county. I mean, it's a collar county of Wayne County of Detroit. And people were going to vote in Farmington Hills particularly. And again, I know the area. And people were turned away because the line was 2 hours long. Oh, I'm not going to go stand in that line. The Democrats are counting on that too, and they see this. And do not for a second tell me that poll workers aren't going, slow it down. If we see that we're getting a whole bunch of people voting for Trump, because even though you're not allowed to wear hats or t-shirts or stuff, people in line still talk, okay? And don't think that the people out there handing out water and with the tent at, 101 feet away from the polling place, just outside the line of where they can be, don't think they're not listening. And don't think they don't know who the poll workers are and the ones that are friend and ones that are foe. There's a lot of Trump voters back there. Why don't you slow it down? Let's suppress the vote. It's happening. They're trying it as best they can. In areas where we got to win this one, make sure they can't vote. And I wouldn't doubt it's happening the other way too. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, don't listen to all this bullshit about how, it's in the bag for Trump, or he's winning every swing state poll. As positive information as that is, I just want you to remember one thing. On election day 2016, the polls said Hillary Clinton had a 99% chance of winning the election. And we all remember what happened. Pinball out.